We now have updates from Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy on what they're going to do with DOGE. I can't believe this is happening so fast, and it comes at the same time as CNN just said, or CNN, close enough, CNBC just had this to say.
New Treasury data out just now shows the government spent $82 billion on interest costs just in October alone. That was the first month of the new fiscal year, but that is actually an 8% decrease from the same month a year ago. It is a reflection of lower rates, not exactly of any progress made in reducing the nation's debt load. Overall, for the month, Treasury ran up a deficit of $121 billion on an adjusted basis. Not exactly a great start for the fiscal year. That was due both to lower revenues, which were down about 19%, in part because of lower corporate taxes coming in, and it was higher spending. Spending was up an adjusted 8% overall. And that higher spending was driven in part by the Department of Education. Costs there for the month were up 19% from the same month a year ago. And at Veterans Affairs, they were up 17% there. And guys, I want to add, we get this glimpse at the Treasury's budget every single month, but this one does come on the same day that we're talking about Elon Musk and this new Department of Government Efficiency, which does have this goal of cutting $2 trillion out of the $6 trillion federal budget. So with spending up at education and the VA last month, those are by no means the largest buckets of federal spending, but they are two areas, guys, where there's been a lot of focus, a lot of discussion on cutting or maybe even eliminating the entire agency. So if you want to cut a third of the budget, I guess you do have to start somewhere.
Clean energy is preparing for a messy transition, possibly. The Department of Energy is racing to give out money for green projects before President-elect Donald Trump takes office. Now,
Yeah, right. Let's rush to spend more money before Trump takes it away. It's just such a disgrace and a mess. My goodness. So some things that we really want to address here. First, Elon Musk gave the high five emoji to suggesting that we will have OpenGov. That's a reference to OpenAI, though hopefully that doesn't go from a nonprofit to a for-profit. He also reiterated that DOGE is only authorized for 21 months through July 4th, 2026. That'll be a few months before midterms, worth noting. So got to kind of probably wrap up and show some progress by then, so that way you could go into midterms and hopefully brag about progress, TBD. You'll also find that DOGE is designed to provide advice and guidance to the government from outside the government. That's a quote from within the announcement of DOGE. Now, what this is actually interesting, or why this is interesting, is it prevents Elon or Vivek from having to divest for having any kind of larger role with the White House. And so I think that's actually kind of fascinating to think about, because you don't want Elon to have to divest from X or Tesla or whatever, or SpaceX, except now he can have substantial influence inside of government without actually having to follow the limitations that government might put on him. Now, on top of that, we have seen Elon Musk engage in examples of wanting to get rid of wasteful spending, like the wasteful spending that James Lankford in Congress has previously alleged. Now, he's got a lot of these. In fact, he publishes what he calls as a waste booklet. And there's an example where he actually references $20,000 getting funneled to the U.S. State Department in Ecuador, and that money was being used specifically for, well, you take a listen yourself.
Asking a question. For instance, last year the State Department did a grant to Ecuador to host 12 drag shows in Ecuador with American tax dollars. Now,
yeah, so as usual, what I like to do is I like to fact check some of these claims, and when I did, I couldn't find a lot of data on it, but I found Newsweek had a pretty good breakdown on it, and it's true. 12 drag shows, potentially even an advertisement for diversity, equity, inclusion, and money for posters and other information. So, yeah, Newsweek has a story on this. Fact check, is the Biden administration funding drag shows in Ecuador? Now, it's disguised all as sort of like, hey, well, we're just, sending money to our State Department over there, to our embassy over there. Don't worry, they're spending it on initiatives that are important to them so they can relate to the local community, or I don't know, whatever they're doing. It's not a good look. Then there's also apparently $350,000 that was getting funneled to AI smart toilets. This one's just a little gross, but apparently there are 35 to 37 anal creases that are like an anal fingerprint, so we can identify different people, and then we can track urine color, flow rate, and stool to measure the person's health. That way, quote, the data does not go down the sewer, but up to a secure internet cloud. I put my sources on this over on ehack.com. You can see it there, but oh my gosh. Then apparently you had, quote, the National Science Foundation joined their potty party with a new $1 million grant for internet-connected toilets that can do passive urinalysis testing. There are actually grants awarded for this kind of stuff. I mean, I'm trying to think of how this could be useful, maybe in like a doctor's office or a hospital or something, but it just also seems a little weird. Like, why not let maybe the private industry come up with something and actually prove it first? Prove that we actually need it first, beyond like just testing people when they need to be tested rather than just testing everybody who uses a toilet, which just seems like a waste of resources. And if there's something actually provable and useful, how about then we spend money on it rather than urinalysis on everyone's flow rates and measuring people's anal creases like a fingerprint. Man, that just seems weird. Now, Vivek also says that they're going to open source their work. So he's been tweeting about this, and he talks about how they're going to open source all of the data for DOGE, everything that DOGE does. Remember, that's the Department of Governmental Efficiency. And this is important because they really want to showcase everything that they're doing every step of the way. And apparently what they're even thinking about doing is having a potential leaderboard where you could see the biggest examples of government waste that they're able to catch. Okay, that's kind of interesting. Now, or at least remember, they're not in government, so they're not going to be able to axe these things, but they will be able to make recommendations for these sorts of things. So I find it kind of interesting. Hey, let's see what they can do with it. Elon Musk also mentioned in an item, or an interview, rather, an item. Hey, we have 428 agencies in government. Why do we have more agencies than years that our country has been a country? Maybe we could, cap the number of government agencies there are at, 99. And I thought it was kind of an interesting analogy. It's kind of like, it is interesting. That's a lot of agency growth. Now, I mean, there are a lot of things the government has to do, but then again, when money's getting funneled to drag shows in Ecuador and AI smart toilets, which reminds me a lot of, I'm getting ready to post a video on what's going on in Germany. Apparently, Germany was funding bike lanes in Peru, also through their sort of embassies and local grants or whatever. They're funding bike lanes in Peru because lower greenhouse gas emissions in Peru and spending $20+ million on these bike lanes in Peru are going to end up improving the global climate, and that benefits Germans. Okay, yeah, Department of Waste Department, eh? Listen to Elon.
I kind of like DOGE. It's more fun. Where we just take a look at all the federal agencies and say, do we really need whatever it is, 428 federal agencies? Like, if there's so many that people have never even heard of, and that have overlapping areas of responsibility, we should, we should get, there are more federal agencies than there are years since the establishment of the United States, which means that we've created more than one federal agency per year on average. That seems a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. So we should have, that seems crazy. I think we should.
Anyway, yeah, that's just another example or reference, rather, to Elon's take here on these agencies. Here is a meme that people think Elon is going to send to everybody in government. You could see right here, em@doge.gov. That's Elon Musk at doge.gov. Obviously, a fake graphic here. To everyone at government, basically. What did you get done this week? Kind of a way of saying, yeah, you remember when we asked that question at X and we fired 4 out of 5 people that worked at X and we still kept the lights on and the platform running? Kind of wild. Now, another thing that you've got is Elon interacting with a chart. I'll actually just show that on screen here. It is a chart that shows right here, least subsidized degrees for income-driven repayment programs. And then most subsidized degrees for income-driven, basically, debt forgiveness. And you can see most of the degrees that have the highest percentage of debt forgiveness here are things like cosmetology, biology, music, fine arts, liberal arts, communication, disorder scientists, drama, theater, arts, stagecraft, blah, blah, blah. And then the least subsidized degrees were mechanical engineering, civil engineering, electrical engineering, chemical engineering, computer science, registered nursing, computer and information scientists, finance, economics, mathematics, marketing. Right? And this is an interesting one because, I didn't fact check exactly where this chart is from, but let's just think about the concept of it for a moment. If it is true that most of the debt forgiveness is going to people with these degrees, which I don't dispute that is likely, it's worth considering that technically debt forgiveness grants are income-driven. So I wrote here, by virtue of the grants being income-driven, yes, less productive degrees get more of the benefit. The intention seems to be help the people who are making the least amount of money. But as with most things in government, what you really do is you perversely screw up the free market, and now you're incentivizing the lower productivity degrees. So Elon did interact with that chart as well, and he has interacted with fake things before, so it's worth keeping an eye on that. But this makes sense. Again, it's just an example where let's assume for a moment it's true, and if we assume it's true, then we should look and go, why is it that when government touches stuff, you screw things up? Well, usually it's because the free market is a much better allocator of capital. Way better. Anyway. Then we've got the leaderboard coming. All actions of the Department of Government Efficiency will be posted online for maximum transparency. Anytime the public thinks we are cutting something important or not cutting something wasteful, just let us know. We will also have a leaderboard for the most insanely dumb spending of your tax dollars. This will be both extremely tragic and extremely entertaining. Yeah, probably also true. Elon's also been somewhat anti the CEO of NPR, or former CEO of NPR. I should say former. The CEO gave a TED Talk, and this kind of went viral in a bad way for her. So listen to the clip, and then I'll add the context that's missing.
Might have become.
Hold on.
I think our reverence for the truth might have become a bit of a distraction that is preventing us from finding consensus and getting important things done. I think our reverence.
Okay. So this is basically suggesting that, hey, with just that quote, that seems like she's bagging on the truth here. And Elon Musk engages with this. Should your tax dollars really be paying for an organization running by people who think the truth is a distraction? All right. So I'm going to give my opinion on this after I give a little bit of context to what happened here. So basically, what this lady says is she suggests that the truth is getting in the way of consensus or agreement. And she references Wikipedia and the Wikipedia system, where basically Wikipedia's goal is to write articles. And if you're 100% committed to the truth rather than something that's probably true, like 95% true, then in that case, like, you might just be standing in the way of writing any articles, so you may as well just write nothing because you're not going to get to 100% truth. And so this is problematic, though, and I don't agree with this, and I'm going to explain why I don't agree with this, but let me give you more detail here. Her basic argument is, if we can focus on things we can know right now, let's take that consensus with the closest approximation of the truth, and then post the article, go with that, and move on. She argues that focusing on only the absolute truth basically stalls us, it gets in the way. She acknowledges that the truth is important, but people have different truths, so let's just agree to disagree and get these Wikipedia articles written. Now, this has serious problems. One of the serious problems is that it has is it basically takes an argument, and have you ever been in an argument and then people are like, well, let's just agree to disagree? Well, that doesn't solve the problem. The problem is still there. And if you go with a consensus-based approach, where let's say you have 20 people editing a Wikipedia article, and 19 are like, this is the truth, and then they silence the opinion of that 20th person who might actually have the truest truth, if the reader can't see both of those opinions clearly, then what you've really done is you've censored somebody who potentially has the real truth. And that's the whole thing that Elon Musk has been trying to avoid with purchasing X is, hey, look, you don't have to believe everyone that you read. We just want to give you the opportunity to read it. And that is what free speech, after all, is not that you will definitely be heard or listened to, but that at least you have the right to say it. And see, when I ran for governor, I noticed that there were pro-Newsom Wikipedia editors that were able to take control of my wiki page, and they basically created this cult of what they thought was the truth. And I'm like, wait a minute. You're writing this about me. I know what the truth is, and your cult of truth, at least, you know, what you are curating to others as sort of the moderator of the truth, is wrong. And then I'm like, this is wrong. And they're like, no, it's not. Like, I am me. It's quite bizarre. So this is where Elon Musk is like, yeah, you know, maybe those are things we just shouldn't be funding. Now, of course, on the flip side, is it possible that Elon might be thinking, hey, since we're so good at sharing the truth, let's promote more X content? Of course. Is it possible that there could even be a promotion by government on X for more X ads or, you know, more government accounts on X? Of course. I mean, none of this involvement is really going to hurt Elon, but I actually think they're making some pretty good comments so far. Now, I know Elon's spending a lot of time right now sort of trolling on X, but I actually think it's funny because there are a lot of things where when I read them, I'm like, yeah, you know, why are we beginning to spend money on things like, drag shows in Peru or other ludicrous wastes, AI toilets, or, you know, you could get into like sort of Rand Paul. He starts talking about how we're feeding fish cocaine, and there have been many experiments with fish and ovulation, and some of them are science experiments. Some of them actually have arguments, but then when you hear it, it's like, oh my gosh, on the surface, this does sound really ludicrous. And so maybe when we spend money, there should at least be an explanation that goes with it that is very obvious and easy to understand. It's almost like, if you're going to spend the money on something that seems stupid, at least spend a little bit of extra effort to make sure that you explain it to the people whose money you're spending. Anyway, now you can follow DOGE. Make sure to follow DOGE. This is very interesting. So Elon Musk just tweeted while I was filming this, it begins. When I say tweeted, I should be saying posted, but whatever. Working overtime to ensure your tax dollars will be spent wisely. The first Department of Government Efficiency post, which already has 136,000 followers. Boom, there it is, November 13th, 11:36. There it is, American flag, $sign. Oh, it's actually the second post. They posted their sort of mandate last night, I suppose. Wow, almost 1 million likes. It's pretty incredible. But anyway, there you go. Thank you. Can you start with the IRS? Preview of day one. Oh, it's melee. Out. That's funny. TSA, ATF cut the IRS, please. No tax on overtime. Well, this isn't the government. This is a body that is going to recommend, changes basically to the president and to Congress and otherwise. I mean, they do have it listed as technically a government agency, but I mean, here you go. This is how they say it. I'm pleased to announce that Elon, in conjunction with Vivek, will lead the Department of Government Efficiency. Together, the two wonderful Americans will pave the way for my administration to dismantle government bureaucracy and essentially cut waste. Now, this agency will operate outside the government and will partner with the White House and Office of Management Budget. So if it's outside the government, I have to say I'm a little confused why it has the gray verified government or multilateral. Oh, did they just redefine this? That's really interesting because it used to be that gray was only for political accounts, but now apparently the gray check mark indicates it could be government or multilateral organization or a government and multilateral organization combined. Interesting. Main agencies, public safety, may include heads of state, may include regional level, county level, institutional accounts, blah, 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 state governors, military leaders, in other words. So technically it's outside the government, but it's inside the government. It's like the Federal Reserve. It's federal, but it's not federal. What a mess. Okay, whatever. I will say, entertainment is going to be vastly guaranteed here. Another one, by the way, is Donald Trump is now targeting endowments, and he's threatening to basically fire a bunch of people who accredit colleges with what he calls wasteful spending. Now, if you listen closely, one of the crazy things that I hadn't even thought of before, but it's probably a good idea, is Donald Trump actually starts talking about this potential for a college exit exam. It's like, if we have college entrance exams, why don't we have exit exams to actually see if people are learning anything and if they should actually be spending this money? Listen to Trump.
Costs at colleges and universities have been exploding, and I mean absolutely exploding. While academics have been obsessed with indoctrinating America's youth, the time has come to reclaim our once great educational institutions from the radical left, and we will do that. Our secret weapon will be the college accreditation system. It's called accreditation for a reason. The accreditors are supposed to ensure that schools are not ripping off students and taxpayers, but they have failed totally. When I return to the White House, I will fire the radical left accreditors that have allowed our colleges to become dominated by Marxist maniacs and lunatics. We will then accept applications for new accreditors who will impose real standards on colleges once again and once and for all. These standards will include defending the American tradition and Western civilization, protecting free speech, eliminating wasteful administrative positions that drive up costs incredibly, removing all Marxist diversity, equity, and inclusion bureaucrats, offering options for accelerated and low-cost degrees, providing meaningful job placement and career services, and implementing college entrance and exit exams to prove that students are actually learning and getting their money's worth. Furthermore, I will direct the Department of Justice to pursue federal civil rights cases against schools that continue to engage in racial discrimination and schools that persist in explicit, unlawful discrimination under the guise of equity will not only have their endowments taxed, but through budget reconciliation, I will advance a measure to have them fined up to the entire amount of their endowment.
Jeez.
A portion of the seized funds will then be used as restitution for victims of these illegal and unjust policies that hurt our country so badly. Colleges have gotten hundreds of billions of dollars from hardworking taxpayers, and now we are going to get this anti-American insanity out of our institutions once and for all. We are going to have real education in America. Thank you.
Wow. I mean, honestly, everything he's saying, it sounds good. Let's just see if we can implement some of this stuff, because the college system's got a little broken. It's very, very expensive, and you're right. Like, the ROI, it has to be there for folks, Trump. So you're right about that. You don't want, younger 18-year-olds who have to make this decision to get ripped off, and then they start off their whole lives saddled with student debt on the wrong foot. It's bad, it's sad, it's not good. Anyway, Department of Government Efficiency. Either governmental or not, I haven't figured it out yet. Anyway, there's an update for you on some of the latest that Vivek and Elon Musk are thinking about government efficiency. Woohoo! Oh, quick note also, Vivek was sort of thinking that what's an easy way to fire people in the government? Even or odd social security number. If your social ends in an odd number and odd is what we picked out of the hat, you're fired. Crazy, huh? But would the government collapse? Probably not. Would GDP collapse? Probably, at least initially, unless the money is reallocated to something else. It's crazy. Anyway, make sure you get my Alpha report every morning at 6:15 a.m. Go to meetkevin.com/alpha, and you can sign up for it there. All right, folks, thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Why not advertise these things that you told us here? I feel like nobody else knows about this.
We'll try a little advertising and see how it goes.
Congratulations, man. You have done so much. People love you. People look up to you.
Kevin Paffrath there, financial analyst and YouTuber. Meet Kevin. Always great to get your take.